From Washington, D.C., this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Hena Zuberi. Ceasefire talks between Israel and Hamas in Egypt have made progress but remain stuck over Israel's troop withdrawal. This and more in today's news, so stay tuned. A new study says that the U.S. has given Israel at least $21.7 billion in military funds since it launched its genocidal war on Gaza 2 years ago. The research released on the second anniversary of the genocide on Tuesday says Washington's support under Presidents Joe Biden and Donald Trump kept Israel's killing machine in Gaza going. The Brown University's Costs of War project says $17.9 billion was given in the first year and $3.8 billion in the second. A related report estimates that another $10 billion was spent on wider U.S. military operations in the Middle East. Analysts say Israel could not have sustained the operations without U.S. backing. The State Department and the White House have declined to comment, while the Pentagon oversees only part of the funding. The reports come as the new ceasefire talks between Israel and Hamas resume in Egypt. Defying President Donald Trump's appeal to halt strikes, Israel continues bombing Gaza as ceasefire talks enter a third day in Egypt's Sharm el-Sheikh. Israeli soldiers killed at least 8 Palestinians and injured 61 in the past 24 hours, according to the Gaza's health ministry. Hospitals received 10 more bodies found in rubble and dozens more of injured overnight. One person was killed and several others wounded after Israeli forces fired at people waiting for aid near a distribution center north of Rafah, according to Nasser Hospital sources. Al Jazeera reports that explosive-laden vehicles were remotely detonated in Gaza City, Sabra neighborhood, a tactic that Israel has used throughout the campaign to force residents out. The health ministry in Gaza says at least 67,000 people have been killed and more than 160,000 wounded since October 2023. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is wanted for war crimes and crimes against humanity in Gaza by the International Criminal Court, which has issued an arrest warrant for his arrest. Human rights organizations around the world and in Israel have accused Israel of genocide in Gaza. Ceasefire negotiations between Hamas and Israel entered a crucial round in Egypt's Sharm el-Sheikh on Wednesday. Israel's Strategic Affairs Minister Ron Dermir arrived to lead the Israeli delegation. U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, former advisor and son-in-law of President Donald Trump, also joined the talks. Qatari Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani, Turkey's intelligence chief Ibrahim Kalin, and Egypt's spy chief Hassan Mahmoud Rashad are also participating. Hamas confirmed that it has exchanged lists of prisoners to be released. The Palestinian Prison Society says more than 11,000 Palestinians are in Israeli jails, the highest number since the Second Intifada between 2000 and 2005. Analysts say that the sides still remain divided. Israel seeks the return of its prisoners without much else commitment, while Hamas demands the withdrawal of its troops and permanent ceasefire. Sami Al-Arai, an expert on Palestinian affairs, says 4 of the 5 conditions that the resistance demanded previously are being met at this particular deal. The only problem is the withdrawal of Israeli troops. Egypt's President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has invited President Donald Trump to attend a possible signing ceremony if a deal is reached. Tech corporation Oracle is facing criticism after reports that employees critical of Israel were referred to mental health services instead of having their concerns heard. Oracle is based in Austin, Texas, and was founded by Zionist billionaire Larry Ellison. The company's executives, including Israeli-American board chair Saha Katz, have repeatedly declared Oracle's unequivocal commitment to Israel. Katz says staff who disagrees with the firm's mission to support Israel may not be the right fit. Following the October 7, 2023 Hamas attack, Oracle displayed "We Stand with Israel" banners on all of its websites worldwide. The company's Israeli head, Iran Fagambaum, said that employees opposing Israel may not belong at Oracle. A group of employees writing under Oracle for Palestine said dissenters were ignored and told to seek therapy. Their claims were echoed in a Times of Israel blog by an Oracle worker praising the approach. The controversy has sparked debate over whether Oracle's Zionist stance could influence content moderation at TikTok. Sit-ins were held at 20 train stations across the Netherlands on Tuesday, marking the second anniversary of the start of Israel's genocide in Gaza. Demonstrations took place in major cities including Amsterdam, Rotterdam, and Utrecht. In Utrecht, protesters gathered at the central station waving Palestinian flags and calling for an end to Israel's genocide. Participants accused the Dutch government of backing Israel and ignoring international law. Banners read "Stop the Genocide" and "Justice Now." After the sit-in, demonstrators marched through city centers. The protests drew attention to the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, where nearly 2.4 million people have lived under an Israeli blockade for 18 years. The Islamic Food Bank in Toledo, Ohio, is battling record demand as federal funding cuts deepen its financial crisis. The charity distributed $1.7 million in food aid last year, but Director Lauren Backenground says supplies are shrinking. She shares that the food bank now buys costly essentials such as milk and canned protein to keep shelves stocked. 3 pantries under the organization serve 400 families monthly, many with working adults who still cannot make ends meet. About 80% of those helped are not Muslims, as Backenground says feeding the hungry is central to the Islamic faith. As budget gaps widen, she has called for community support as the food bank continues to rely on donations of food, hands, and time to keep meeting the city's growing needs. A lawyer threw a shoe and shouted pro-Hindu slogans at India's Chief Justice B.R. Gavai in Delhi. Details after the break. Governors across the United States are clashing with President Donald Trump as fears of a constitutional crisis grow. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker says that Trump's words and actions are treasonous. He accused him of seizing powers that belong to states. Trump's deployment of National Guard troops in defiance of court orders has prompted lawsuits from Illinois, California, and Oregon governors. Judges have ruled that the president overstepped his authority by federalizing state troops without cause. Analysts say that the standoff has exposed how Congress has failed to check presidential overreach, leaving governors to defend constitutional limits. California Governor Gavin Newsom and others are turning to regional alliances to counter what they call an abuse of executive power. Political experts warn that the crisis could reshape federal-state relations, echoing the tensions of the civil rights era, but with Washington now driving the confrontation. The Los Angeles office of the Council on American Islamic Relations, or CAIR, has welcomed hate crime charges in a violent attack on a black teenager in Simi Valley, California. A viral video from August 2nd shows a group of teens chasing and assaulting 18-year-old Michael Robinson outside a movie theater. They can be heard shouting racial slurs as they beat him. Robinson suffered a concussion, back injuries, and a chipped tooth. The Ventura County District Attorney's Office charged the suspects aged 16 to 17 with felony assault and a hate crime enhancement. They are set to appear in court on October the 10th. CAIR Los Angeles Executive Director Hussam Aylouch said that the attack was deeply disturbing and sickening, echoing the history of racial terror in America. He called for full accountability, saying hate crimes like these threaten Black lives today, and urged communities to unite against racism in all forms. Saudi Arabia has announced that all Muslims holding any type of Saudi-issued visa can perform the Umrah pilgrimage. The Ministry of Hajj and Umrah confirmed that visitors with tourist, work, family, personal, and even transit visas are eligible. Pilgrims can use the Nusuk Umrah digital platform to choose packages and obtain permits instantly. Umrah is a non-mandatory Islamic pilgrimage to Mecca that can be undertaken at any time of the year, unlike the Hajj pilgrimage, which occurs once annually. The ministry says that the move aims to simplify travel for pilgrims and reflects Saudi Arabia's efforts to make religious tourism more inclusive under the Vision 2030 plan. A lawyer hurled a shoe at India's Chief Justice, B.R. Gavai, during a court session in Delhi, sparking outrage across the country. Gavai, the first Buddhist and the second Dalit, the lowest in India's Hindu caste order to head the Supreme Court, remained calm as the shoe brushed past him. The attacker, Rakesh Kishore, shouted, "India should not tolerate an insult to Sanatan Dharma," referring to Hindustan's ancient supremacist religious order. Kishore was protesting Gavai's earlier remarks, dismissing a petition to rebuild a Hindu god Vishnu's idol. The judge told the lawyer, "Ask the deity himself to do something." Experts say that the attack highlights rising intolerance in India, especially against marginalized groups such as Muslims and Dalits. Though upper caste Hindus make up barely 15% of India's population, they retain a powerful hold over politics and society. Some ruling party figures defending the assailant, saying he was provoked by remarks against Hinduism, deepening concern over growing religious polarization. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, however, condemned the act as utterly reprehensible. Rohingya Muslim activists appealed to the United Nations to urgently stop mass killings in Burma. Speaking at the UN's first high-level conference on the issue, Women's Peace Network founder YY New said that the Rohingya have faced decades of violence and displacement. She called for the situation long overdue for justice. UN officials say more than 1.2 million Rohingya refugees are now living in Bangladesh. UN Refugees Chief Filippo Grandi warned that those remaining in Burma still face burning of villages, forced labor, and daily discrimination. Activist Rafiq Hussain urged the UN to create a safe zone along the Bangladesh border. Meanwhile, founder of the Rohingya Student Network, Mong Soedullah, demanded international protection for the community. President Donald Trump is reportedly considering a drastic cut in refugee admissions to just 7,500, the lowest in U.S. history. Most of the limited slots would go to white South Africans. Officials say that the decision, still awaiting congressional notification, marks a sharp departure from the Biden-era ceiling of 125,000. The move coincides with nationwide immigration raids and a new Homeland Security campaign urging officers to recapture national identity. Experts say that the plan undermines decades of bipartisan refugee policy. Krish O'Mara Vignaraja of Global Refuge calls it a monumental shift that could favor one group over all others. Advocates warn that more than 128,000 approved refugees are now stuck in limbo due to the suspension of the program and government shutdown. They accuse Trump of sidelining persecuted minorities worldwide while fast-tracking white Afrikaners, citing unverified claims of discrimination in South Africa. Swiss researchers are exploring how living cells could power the next generation of computers. Scientists at startup Final Spark are growing tiny brain-like clusters called organoids from human skin cells. These can send and receive electrical signals, a step towards creating biocomputers that process information like the human brain but uses far less energy. Fred Jordan, co-founder of Final Spark, says using neurons as miniature machines changes how we understand computing and ourselves. The lab's goal is to train these cells to respond to commands and learn tasks, similar to artificial intelligence systems. However, researchers admit that there are major hurdles, including how to keep the living systems nourished and functional. Scientists say these systems could one day complement silicon chips and even help study diseases such as Alzheimer's. That's all from our Washington, D.C. studios. Thank you for watching Muslim News. We are a community channel dedicated to bringing you stories you can trust. Please like, share, and subscribe to our content on YouTube. You can donate now at muslimnetworktv/donate. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum.